Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, everybody. My name is Vicki. Today's date is April 16th. It is a Wednesday, and it is freezing here in Pennsylvania. We went from 80s to 20s, and it barely feels like it's 30 out there. We are the Pennsylvania Coalition for Family and Parent Rights. I want to say thank you and welcome to all of our new members who are taking a stand against children and youth services and the family court system. We are still looking for liaisons in several counties. If anyone is interested, please let someone in the coalition know that we can sign you up for that. You can contact us through our hotline at 206-339-9456, which is also a fax should you need to submit paperwork. Our email is info_PAcoalition@gmcom. This is our blog talk radio show. It is called Fighting CYS in PA. You are welcome to call in and join the discussion at any time by dialing 646-595-2137. A lot of people have said something to me that they can't listen on because they only have their cell phones. You can actually dial 646-595-2137, and just don't answer the prompts. Just stay tuned in. You'll stay in queue. You'll be able to listen to the show. If you want to talk to a guest or myself, you push 1, and then you'll be sent to the queue. Again, I am not an attorney, and most guests that call into the show are just like me. We're just sharing our information and our opinions and our experiences through going through this system. If you need legal advice, please contact an attorney who can better assist you. We have a court watch coming up next Wednesday, a week from today at 9 a.m. at the Berks County S's and Sam. If you are willing to sit and support another one of the coalition in court for that day, you can be there at 9 o'clock and show up for support and be a court watch person. We have these go on from time to time. Sometimes they're not all in Berks County, but it's really appreciated if you can make it and support our other members. There is also the big rally, September 26th from 12 to 3 at the Scranton Courthouse Square, Restoring Families in honor of Georgia Senator Nancy Schaefer and all the work she did bringing to light the corruption in our child welfare system and family court. You're going to have a chance to speak up and listen to speakers Jesse Epps, Civil Rights Hall of Fame inductee, and Andy Ostrowski, candidate for PA's 11th Congressional District seat. Both these people have been through the court system. They have personally, so they also have a lot of information, and we need to get Andy in that office to further push the changes that need to be made. There will be food there, face painting, live music. Please try and attend and make this a showing of the need for change, which we desperately need. Today, first off, I'd like to say I am disgusted by the fact that Danielle Ross, the creepy GAL up in Lackawanna, only got 12 months. She asked for a lesser sentence, and I am always amazed by the gall of these people who just think that they have done such a righteous thing by all of us citizens out here, as she managed to rip off countless parents and, of course, a lot of money, her and her crook husband, which he hasn't been sentenced yet. But she actually had the nerve to ask for a reduced sentence, and to me, she got it. I've seen people do a lot more jail time for a lot less. So it's, again, just part of the sad situation that we're dealing with in our courts, and judges protecting, obviously, someone that worked around them for years. And she did do this for years. And I'm sure that these totals that we have for what she took are probably not close to what really was confiscated by her. But that's the time she got. That's the price she's going to have to pay. You can read about it online or read about it in the paper. I got it sent to me online today. Another thing that happened for all of you Schuylkill County people up there, Pottsville, and that corrupt mess system. The clerk of courts, Stephen Lukock, was found to have been stealing money from the clerk of courts for years. They haven't done an audit since 2004. So you got 10 years of this guy getting money out of there. They, I guess, found paperwork. He was paying his car payments, and instead of having just the normal 3 checking accounts, he had 16 as of yesterday's count. They will probably find more. Amazing how this went on for so long. And to like the normal mind, that money was not ever, no one ever questioned it. But that's how these courts work. And there is no oversight. There's no transparency. And this stuff is going on all over the place. I am hoping, and I advise everybody up there in Schuylkill County to start writing to this district attorney, as I did. Her name is Christing Holman. You can call there, make your complaint, and you can fax her your information and let her know what's going on in the family courts and her corrupt courthouse as well, because to know what we are all going through and what they have been doing up there. You can call her office directly at 570-628-1359. That'll put you in touch with I believe a detective or a deputy chief. Or you can fax your complaint or your experiences to her at 570-628-1010. I wrote her a letter. I left her know that I had spoken to the commissioners and nothing was done. I left her know about all the illicit behavior with her social workers and the GALs up there, how they are covering up information and not getting it to the judge. And the civil rights abuses, I kind of laid it all out. I also backed that up by sending what I sent to her to the FBI, who I'll try and get on this case, and to several attorneys in the Juvenile Law Center, so that everybody knows what's happening up there in Schuylkill County. But today I thought I would talk a bit about the terminology that we're hearing a lot about, so that we understand what is going on in the court. A lot of times you hear these words and you might not really know what they mean to us in sense of children and youth services and family court. But I'm hoping to help everybody get a better understanding of that today. My first choice of word that is really, really taking over the court system is racketeering. A racket is a service that is legally offered to problem, such as for a problem that does not actually exist, will not be affected, or would not otherwise exist. Conducting a racket is racketeering. Particularly, the potential problem may be caused by the same party that offers to solve it, although that fact may be concealed with the specific intent to create continual support for that party. A prototype is the protection racket, wherein a person in the group indicates that they would or could, say, protect a store or something from potential damage, and yet that same person is causing that damage. So I guess how I look at this is CYS offers to solve the problem of abused children, obfuscating them from mostly loving parents, hiding the fact that over 80% of these children do not need to be in their care. In return, they are reaping the financial gain and job security. And they sell themselves as protecting the children, when in reality the children are in more danger in their care. Then there is kind of the extortion thing by making constant threats to take your children unless you comply with their demands. So it is a racketeering thing, what they're doing, and I'm seeing more and more lawsuits coming into play with those words and how it's being done. Backed right up against that is fraud, which is a deception deliberately practiced in order to secure unfair or unlawful gain. As a legal concept, fraud is both a civil wrong. The victim may sue the fraud or the perpetrator to avoid the fraud and or recover money as compensation, or it can be criminal wrong. A fraud perpetrator may be prosecuted and imprisoned governmental authorities. Well, they'd have to be impersonating their own. Defrauding people or organizations of money or valuables is the usual purpose of fraud, but it is sometimes instead involves obtaining benefits without actually depriving anyone of money or valuables. My example is fraud is being committed by the social worker who purposely hides or falsifies evidence from the judge and or lawyer so they can obtain a preferred outcome. A lawyer and judge can deny evidence, and once proven beyond a doubt, they've committed fraud. There's so much deception, and it's deliberately practiced in order to secure unfair or unlawful gain. It's happening every day in our courts, time and time again. And, that brings us to the corruption. And the word corrupt means utterly broken. Corruption is described as the illegitimate use of public power to benefit a private interest. Corruption in an action is also defined to be like secretly provide a good or a service to a third party so that they can influence certain actions which benefit the corrupt third party or both, in which the corrupt agent authority, reaps all the benefits, as usually corruption. Social workers are using the agency services to legally kidnap our children, influencing incentives and job security for all the players involved. They are the front runners to snag the children, which in return brings the federal dollars. Children are often put in unnecessary programs and given drugs to keep spreading the money around. Guardian ad litem, lawyers, doctors, judges, they're all party of overseeing that the children remain in the system, feeding their livelihood. We've heard time and time again how depending how big or small communities are, the tight circle that there are with these people, how it just seems to be the same judges, the same guardian ad litems, the same lawyers, the same doctors, same judges, same. Does that mean that the other people aren't players? I'm starting to kind of believe that in some ways. Someone who I really admire for the work that he's done is David Rathman, and his book is called As Good as a Dog. And I advise anyone involved in the system to read that. If you're from Berks County, you will particularly enjoy it because a lot of those names, like I'm talking about, are very familiar. I got to talk to Dave a little bit yesterday because I got halfway through the book, and like I said, all the names, like everything's familiar. My case was settled in 1997. So the same people are still doing the same stuff. They're still living off of this corrupt system in our family courts. It just amazes me. And then there was an attorney's name that came up. Her name is Victoria Bentley. And my sister's case was extremely like high profile, and a matter of fact, Lynn Mullis got suspended during my sister's case. She was a therapist. She was taking my sister's son out of school without permission. She was picking him up at different places and just taking him places. Several times in hallways, my sister witnessed lawyers and her ex exchanging money and conversation that just was not on the up and up. It was not right. And this went on for years, and we're talking $100,000, beyond the fact, and so much fighting. The judge in this case was Judge Grimm, and there were Randy Rabinold, Jill Kestel, there were so many lawyers in between, Barbara Washburn, but this went on for so long, and then there was another really, tense hearing that came up, and my sister hired Victoria Bentley. And they got to this hearing, the judge, my sister didn't go behind there. The attorneys and the judge were behind closed doors. And in a very short period of time, Victoria Bentley came out, the case was over. It was done. And to this day, we do not know what was said, what happened in there that actually just ended this long, huge battle for years. She also was asked to be involved in Dave Rathman's situation. And I think the reason that she didn't was because there was a conflict there, and maybe she is one of those decent attorneys that will back away from that. It appears that possibly even Jill Kessel might have backed away from some of the corruption that was going on with Dave Rathman's daughter and her divorce case, and all the corruption and fraud and all these things I'm talking about that happened over the years, that they just keep delaying things, and you never really get the chance to say, stick up for yourself. They can accuse you of things, but you never really get to rebut that a lot in the system. Another term that we hear a lot of here late, and this is not just in our family courts, it's like everywhere with political and everything going on, is a police state. It's happening everywhere because of us losing our rights. A police state is a state in which the government exercises rigid and cruel controls over the social, economic, and political life of the population. A police state typically exhibits elements of dictatorship and social control, and there is usually little or no distinction between the law and the exercise of the political power by the official. There's a lot of this going on now with things getting, I guess, so tense. People are starting to stick up and speak out, and the people of a police state experience restrictions of their mobility, their freedom to express or communicate political or other views, which are subject to police monitoring or enforcement. What comes to mind here is the gag orders. There are more gag orders in place than ever before. They were intended to be a legal order by a court or government restricting information or comment from being made publicly, or in some cases passed on to an unauthorized third party. The downside of these things is they are being abused as a useful tool for those of financial means and power to intimidate witnesses and prevent release of information using the legal system rather than other methods of intimidation. It's like another thing they took that was put in place for the right and have made it, have abused it. It's being abused. To me, it's out of control. And that in turn brings along the abuse of power in the form of people in office. It's official misconduct. It's an unlawful act. Really, it is. It's done in an official capacity, which affects the performance of official duties. It is often grounds for removal if they're ever caught doing. If you can ever get that far. Unfortunately, people aren't getting that far. It's being overlooked. It's being ignored. And abuse of power is just part of the position these days. That's how I look at it. That's what it seems to me. There's also abuse of process and the use of the legal process to accomplish an unlawful purpose, causing a summons, writ, warrant, mandate, or any other process to issue from a court in order to accomplish some purpose not intended by law. The clearest example here is getting a judge to issue a court order or warrant for a false accusation in order to take your child or have you removed from your home, like a PFA, seize your assets, as in divorce situations. The list goes on. Made up stories to a judge that concludes an illegal confiscating of property, and children are property. They are yours. So I think that these are all really a lot of what is going on within the system. And if you read Dave's book, As Good as a Dog, and like I said, I'm only halfway through that, and you can just see these words and how they play into what his daughter and his family experienced with the court system. The judge in that case was Judge Lash. When I went through my situation, he was an attorney at that time, and I actually had spoke to him to be my attorney at one point. Of course, since then, he's been, like most of them, they work their way up to being a judge. And not all judges are bad. But when you read these transcripts, which Dave has in his book, and you see, these guys are not stupid. You know they're not dense, and yet they're making all these wrong decisions. It's obvious that someone is lying. You have an evaluator that you force these people to go to that think he's deceptive and is not telling the truth. And yet the judge refuses to acknowledge and take action to get that person knocked down. I mean, they wanted 50-50 custody. What is so difficult about having 50-50 custody? But, you get it for a little bit. Your trials, there's this trial, and then there's the next trial, and then there's this evaluation, and then there's that evaluation, on and on till you're drained. I really encourage anyone that's having trouble with the court system. And I know that we all know that our DAs and everybody that's in there is involved in that. But my whole thing now is creating a huge paper trail that all these people were notified that it was going on. So when it comes down the pike, and it's coming down the pike, that you have that paper trail was there, that person was notified and they did nothing. And that's why I left the district attorney, Schuylkill County, yesterday, that I have contacted the governor, the attorney general. I have such a letter trailed, ACLU, let's not forget that. Contacted so many people, and everybody wants to turn a blind eye to this, but in Schuylkill County, this door may have opened because of corruption in another section of their courthouse, which only would lead most people to believe, and we all know that it's not just there. What I wanted to get across to her was that, and this is what I want you to take a look at your cases with the information I gave you today about racketeering, about fraud, about corruption, about a police state, about abuse of process and abuse of power. The highlights of your case where you definitely had your civil rights affected, or there was an outright fraudulent thing going on or still going on. So in my case, I made her very aware of the fact that, first off, her social worker sent another caseworker here from Kids Peace to illegally come to my house, uninvited, without warrant, without court order, and come in and take my foster daughter and take her hysterically, screaming, kicking, and very angry that she was being moved again since it was her first safe house, thanks to Schuylkill County, because they left her in an abusive home for so many years. She was finally safe. But they didn't care about that. That was not their goal. It is so evident that that was not what they were about. They came in here and they took her illegally. It's against the civil rights of my family to come in here and do what they did. Then they go farther with holding her hostage in a respite home, which was less than clean and decent. She missed school. She had her grades deteriorate because of the stress. When she did get back into school, the teachers were letting me know how stressed she was and how unhappy she was, which is so sad because it was also unnecessary. The reasoning behind taking the child, which they used, and this is where I'm telling you that the fraud is committed, is they took the child without the court order or the warrant, but then they went and made up a tale, big story, to go to the judge to get a court date. Not a court order, it's just a court date, which in court order was obtained, and this is not the first time, but the first time that I would use that information that social worker had on a previous sexual abuse of the child was not given to the judge, was not given to a lawyer. I don't even know if she gave it to the director or supervisor. She knew that that child was not molested by the person that Schuylkill County was accusing. And that has kept the child in the system because she refuses to expunge that person or fix that record. He remains being labeled as a sexual predator or abuser, and you can't get away from that when you apply for jobs. A lot of things you do in your life, people are going to look down upon you. He's had to carry that for years, only because Schuylkill County will not release the information he needs to move forward and expunge that record. The social worker has not only the confession of the child and the explanation of the child, a therapist that also backed up who the real perpetrator was, a tape recording of who the real perpetrator is, but refuses to turn this information over and actually use that information, use the information as it's still being the perpetrator to remove the child from the house, which was not the case. It was a whole made-up story instead of actually admitting that she was removing the child because we were supporting the child in another case, abusers away. So the highlights of that is letting the district attorney know that there is information out there, and this is not the only case. I've spoken to, I think, well over 12, 15 of you now from up there that are dealing with these same caseworkers, same judges, same guardian ad litem that keep covering up information in your case that is not getting to the judge. That is fraud. And if you can prove that they have it, which I definitely can because I have certified letters and I have the proof of the tape, because I still have my copy and I have the proof of you have that information, get yourself to an attorney and file the right papers to do it. And a lot of this stuff you can do without an attorney. And I am hoping that the president of the coalition will be on Friday and share his story and how to file some of this stuff without an attorney, maybe with the help of just someone that's a little bit more knowledgeable if you're not, that can help you do it. I know everybody can get those free attorneys, but I'm a little leery of anybody that is working as a pro bono or as appointed by the court, because more than likely they are not going to work for you. And that is a shame, but that is part of this whole thing of racketeering, corruption, and the whole mess. So another thing that you might be able to highlight is if another thing that happened in this case was that a guardian ad litem is assigned to your child, and they have duties that they are to meet with that child and know what that child wants. That guardian is to represent what that child wants, not what the guardian thinks, is best or, if they're a certain age. If they're not, then the guardian does what he thinks is best for the child. Unfortunately, if they work for CYS, it's going to be what CYS wants. In my case, another little trick that was pulled without a motion, I don't think anything ever happened because we were told before court even started that the guardian moved him attorney for my foster daughter and brought in another guardian ad litem who had never met the child, ever. Didn't know her from Adam. So there's little things like that they can be doing that you need to look out for and highlight as part of the fraud and deception being committed in the courts. Watch out for the blood work, the blood testing. I'm hearing more and more that there's really suspicious results to blood work coming about. I would definitely always use a lab that you trust and a lab not within, obviously, their reach. I know up in Schuylkill County I was told that they force a lot of people to go to certain labs because they have incentives in those labs. As I were you, I would always make sure to use your local hospital or a lab that you've always used and, ask questions about how they handle those results, just to be sure that you're not being railroaded, because they can do that. And I know that it's been done. I just spoke to someone the other day that felt that they were definitely railroaded with the test. So I hope that everything I gave to you today is helpful. If you have any questions, you can call the hotline to get me. You can get to me through Coalition site on Facebook, which is a public site. If you become part of the Coalition, we will get you into our group and hopefully get you some advice or direction, support that you need to help with your case. There's so many knowledgeable people in our group, and everybody's had kind of a different but the same experiences, if that makes sense. And it can be really helpful to talk to them. I've definitely learned a lot from them. Like I said, I hope the president can be on Friday because he really has done a lot of homework also. One of the other women that's on Austin, well, everybody that's on. They all know so much in their own way. I'm just always amazed information that they have. So get involved with the group. Please try and make it to the rally Saturday, April 26th from 12 to 3. There's going to be a lot of good information there. TA Coalition will be there. They will be handing out brochures and flyers. Support any of the fundraisers going on. Of course, we do not have free money coming at us. We're all trying to do this on little or no budgets and chipping in as we can. So if you see a fundraiser going on at the rally, buy a candy bar or balloon or whatever they have going on to help support the cause and hopefully make the changes that we really, really, really need to make in Pennsylvania and every state, because this is so blown out of proportion. I think that California has led the way. I'm still hoping to have Sean McMillan on, who has been a big part of that. And maybe we can learn PA, even though I constantly am watching what he's doing. Somehow we just don't have a lot of legislators or people where we need them to get this stuff done. I think it's becoming a bigger thing now, and it's a great thing to run on if you want to get into office. If you want to make these changes or you've been through the system like Andy Ostrowski, you get out there and you want to get in, and it's so close to your heart, you're going to fight to make those changes. We need a lot of him because it's going to take a lot. You just hit closed doors all the time. And as upsetting it is that there was a clerk in Schuylkill County ripping people off for 10 years, it's an open door that possibly could bring down some of the corruption that is going on up there. Berks County, I'd like to have guests on to talk about the corruption and the same going on there. I have it's been so many years since I've actually dealt with them, and I know how bad it was then, and I can definitely go into some horror of what has happened in Berks County also. But I would like to leave that to the people that are dealing with it now, more recently, and maybe who even have filed some things against certain people and want, so that we can start making change and making it a healthier environment, and know that just because you file for divorce, you're not going to not be able to see your kids ever, or that you're going to get kicked out of your house or lose all your assets or your income or your job because of false accusations, or have all these bad things happen to you. There needs to be laws need to change, and they're making some changes with the child abuse laws. But to me, it's kind of a little still smoke and mirrors. I like to see that they're putting stuff in place, but they need to get to these agencies, because these agencies find a way around all of the laws, bills, everything they sign. They can't follow the Constitution. They can't follow civil rights. They're not going to adhere to these. The mandatory reporting, we'll see. We'll see. I know that there's a social worker right now sitting in Schuylkill County that knows darn well who did the abuse. I know that she hasn't reported it, and I know that she hasn't cleared the record of the person that did. So we'll see, because I'm not going to let it go. And I advise you, if you have a case, don't let it go. Don't ever give up. So that is about all I have for today. Again, we're the Pennsylvania Coalition for Family and Parents' Rights, and our hotline number is 206-339-9456. Give us a call and get involved. Have a great day.